Do you like being on this program?
Yeah.
Do you know who I am?
No.
You think I'm good looking?
Yeah.
I think you're good looking.
Yes, indeed.
Before Dr. Dre would become a founding member of N.W.A, the pioneers of gangster rap, and then break off on his own to release classic albums like The Chronic.
My first album, The Chronic, and the 2001 album, I believe I might be on like 4 or 5 songs. It sounds and appears like I'm on more because of the way I sequenced the song and structured it.
Before Dr. Dre would have a recent health scare after suffering a brain aneurysm and would be rushed to the hospital, we're happy to report that he's doing a whole lot better.
Well, now to some developing news, we have Dr. Dre is in the ICU after suffering a brain aneurysm. Well, TMZ right now is reporting sources close to the award-winning producer and artist told them that he suffered the aneurysm yesterday, then was rushed by ambulance to Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles.
Before Dr. Dre would have over 5 million followers on Instagram, almost 3 million followers on Twitter, and over 4 million subscribers on YouTube at the time of this recording, music has been in Dr. Dre's blood from the very start. Now, the man who would one day revolutionize the hip-hop game started working as a DJ in his teens, and his first major success, it came not long after as a member of the rap group N.W.A. Later on in his career, he'd co-found Death Row Records, and his first solo album, The Chronic, released in 1992, it was one of the biggest hits of the decade. In fact, more than any other rapper, Dr. Dre, he is credited for moving away from the political stance and party vibes of old school rap in order to create gangsta rap.
We're not pro-gang. The only thing you can get out of gang banging is maybe going to jail or dead. One of the two. That's where it's going to end up.
But as well known as he is for his rapping career, Dre would probably be the first to tell you that his true talent, it was as a producer working with acts like Eminem and 50 Cent before diversifying even further and co-founding the company Beats Electronics, which would make him richer than damn near anything else he was ever a part of. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Michael McCrudden back at it again with a brand new video, this time taking an updated look at the rise to fame of Dr. Dre, because here at Before They Were Famous, well, we all know better than to forget about one of the most revolutionary hip-hop artists of all time. Now, recently, Dre, he's had a bit of a health scare after suffering a brain aneurysm and being rushed to the hospital. Now, thankfully, he seems to be doing better now after releasing the following statement via Instagram. Now, I, for one, I can't wait to hear that he's out of the hospital and back home safe and sound. But in the meantime, well, I thought we'd update the bio we made for him a few years back, because I think I did it last time in like 2016. And of course, there's a whole lot of updates. All right, now let's get into the story. Hey, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell. Boom! Dr. Dre was born Andre Ramel Young on February 18, 1965 in Compton, California. Now, his parents, Theodore and Vern Young, were aspiring musicians. In fact, Verna was part of a group known as the Four Aces, and her husband, he was a member of the R&B band called the Romels, a moniker his son would carry with him as his middle name for the rest of his life. Now, his parents had Dre quite young, we're talking 16 and 15 respectively, and life, well, it certainly wasn't easy. Now, when Dre was only a year old, well, he lost his baby brother to pneumonia. Now, friends and family, they began to criticize Verna and believe that she would either lose Dre too or that he would never make anything of himself. Then when Dre was 3, well, his parents, they separated. Now, Verna, she would go on to remarry a few years later and have 3 more children. Now, as his family was growing, so too was Dre's love and passion for music. From the age of 4, well, Dre, he became fascinated with his family's record player, and this helped to shape his love for the art form.
First of all, you have to make sure that this thing is for you and it's who you are, and you're built for this. And then you have to give it the passion that's necessary. Like I said, I don't do it for the money. The money is gonna come. I do it because of the love that I have for it. You know what I'm saying?
That sounded weird. Should I redo it? Let's keep it. Now, Dre's mom would later remarry for a 3rd time, which would bring rapper Warren G into Dre's ever-increasing extended family. But by this point, well, Dre, he was spending most of his time living with his grandmother in the Wilmington Arms housing projects. Needless to say, growing up in Compton, well, it wasn't easy. In addition to being constantly harassed by the police, well, there was the ever-present gang violence that Dre would have to navigate his way through basically every day of his life. In fact, he was forced into leaving Vanguard Junior High School and transferred to Roosevelt Junior High. For his freshman year of high school, Dre, he attended Centennial, but poor grades, they forced him into transferring once again. this time to Fremont High School in South Central Los Angeles. Now, as a teenager, Dre, he had an undeniable passion for music, but he saw it more as a hobby than as a potential career choice. Now, as a youngster, Dre, he had his eyes set on becoming a pilot, even going so far as to enrolling at the Northrop Aviation program, but he was not accepted due to his poor grades. Now, during his time in high school, Dre, he also showed a natural talent for drafting, but ultimately his interests, they would lie outside of schoolwork. Because as a teenager, well, Dre, he finally decided that music, it was gonna be his future. In 1984, Dre received a music mixer as a Christmas gift, and before anyone knew it, well, he'd already turned his family home into his own personal studio. He worked for hours on end, taking snippets of other songs and sounds to create his own masterpieces. Dre spent a lot of time hanging around the clubs in Compton, so he knew that the hip-hop scene, it was increasing in popularity. That led to Eve After Dark, where he eventually got his chance to work the turntables.
Dre, like, press a little bit. What you think?
After meeting fellow rapper DJ Yella, well, they both joined the world-class Wreckin' Crew, which performed in nightclubs around town. Now, Dre, he developed his own persona to stand out, originally called Dre J, before evolving into Dr. Dre, the master of mixology. Now, this stage name was largely inspired by his favorite basketball star at the time, Dr. J, Julius Erving. Eventually, Dre, he felt as if he had grown past the need to be part of Wreckin' Crew. Now, they had a pretty big hit in a track called Surgery, but Dre, he felt he was being held back artistically, and he wasn't being given any type of creative control because he was considered the baby of the group. In 1986, Dre, he met Ice Cube for the first time, a rapper who was under contract at Ruthless Records, a label owned and operated by another local rapper, Eazy-E. Now, not long after meeting Dre, he would get arrested for owning an outstanding $900 parking ticket. Now, Eazy-E, he would help him pay his fine, and after that, well, Dre, he began to help out around Ruthless Records, where he was given far more creative control than he ever had before.
Every project, we had some kind of little argument about what the project should be creatively, and I would say we would probably still be doing that, but at the same time getting the work done and probably doing something amazing.
From the smallest beginnings usually comes something great, and with all that talent circling around Ruthless Records, well, it was only a matter of time before N.W.A. was born, the pioneers of the hip-hop game. Now, the group released their debut album Straight Outta Compton in 1988, featuring singles like Express Yourself and, of course, F the Police. Needless to say, the album, it was controversial. The release was inundated with accusations of glamorizing gang life and acts of misogyny. But all this controversy, it only drummed up more album sales. I mean, how could it not? Suddenly, everyone in the N.W.A.'s life was completely different. We're talking fancy cars, big houses, wild parties. It was the best of times. But for Dre, it was also the worst of times after his younger brother Tyree was attacked and murdered in the streets of Los Angeles.
Mom's just called, man. It's Tyree. He's dead.
What?
He got into a fight. Broke his neck. It's my little brother, man.
Now, Dre was personally grieving, but he did his best not to let it show, instead letting the world know how he felt about what happened in his song The Message. Now, the emotions he was feeling only drove him to work harder and harder in the studio. Eventually, N.W.A. they came to an end, infighting and strife with management, well, it split the group apart. Now, after meeting Suge Knight, who strong-armed Eazy-E into releasing Dre from his Ruthless Records contract, well, Dre and Suge went on to form Death Row Records in 1991. Now, they set to work immediately, recruiting up-and-coming artists like Snoop Doggy Dogg and Tupac. Then Dre, he released his own album called The Chronic in 1992, which featured tracks like Let Me Ride, Little Ghetto Boy, and Ain't Nothing But a G-Thing, which is widely considered to be one of the best hip-hop songs of all time. Now, Dre explained his thought process behind the album to Rolling Stone, where he stated, "I needed a record to come out, I was broke, I didn't receive one quarter in the year of 92 because Ruthless spent the year trying to figure out ways not to pay me so that I'd come back on my hands and knees." Death Row Records held strong until the spring of 95 when Dre finally grew tired of Suge Knight's ever-increasing strong-arm tactics. Now, Dre, he left the label in the summer of 96 to form his own company, Aftermath. He declared gangsta rap is dead, and his first release, Dr. Dre Presents The Aftermath, will receive considerable media attention. Now, the album, it wasn't ultimately that successful sales-wise, but Dre's sophomore album released in 1997, simply titled 2001, was. Now, it scored him a Grammy for Best Rap Performance for Forgot About Dre. Then in 1999, Dre unleashed Eminem onto all our unsuspecting ears. Now, after a 1-2 punch like that, well, Dre and his entire stable of rappers, well, they had become epic phenomenons.
My whole career, especially in the beginning, but even still to this day, is always to try to get a reaction out of Dre.
Dre won a Grammy for his work on the Marshall Mathers LP, and later on in his career, he would capture 2 more, both for his later work on the Eminem album Relapse. Dre added a ton of new artists to his label throughout the 2000s, some of which went on to become household names. We're talking 50 Cent, The Game, and Kendrick Lamar. Meanwhile, Dre, he kept himself busy with other endeavors as well, like branching out into acting in films like Training Day.
What up, killer? I can't call it. What's up with you? I've been hearing a lot of out here on these streets, man. You all right?
As much as fans were enjoying Dre's multi-talented nature, they were also clamoring for his 3rd album with the announced title of Detox. Now, the album would ultimately never materialize over nearly a decade of false starts and stops. Tracks, they would get leaked, but nothing substantial would come from it, as Dre, well, he stuck to producing far more than performing. In 2008, Dre released his first brand of headphones titled Beats by Dre. Now, the brand, it would prove to revolutionize the headphone business and became so popular that it resulted in a massive sale to Apple, who bought the brand for $3 billion. Yeah, that's right, you heard me correctly, $3 billion.
It's a company best known for its expensive headphones, named after the hip-hop star Dr. Dre. But now Beats Electronics looks set to be snapped up for more than $3 billion by the technology giant Apple.
The deal increased Dre's net worth to an estimated $800 million, making him the richest rapper in the world at the time, according to Forbes. Now, to this day, Dre is still in the top 3 of the richest rappers, and that's thanks in a huge part to this deal. Then in 2015 came the moment all of Dre's fans were waiting for, the announcement of a new album, which came with the title Compton. A soundtrack was timed to release alongside the N.W.A. biopic Straight Outta Compton, a film that would go on to gross over $200 million worldwide and receive a nomination for an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. In 2016, Dre and the entire N.W.A. roster, well, they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, solidifying their place in the history of popular music. As for the rest of Dre's story, well, I think the rest of the story we'll tell in a different video. Maybe The Rich Life, I don't know. You guys let us know if you want to hear more about Dr. Dre in the comments down below. We also had a recent drop on Eminem, but I'm just going to wrap up this video here. My name is Michael McCrudden, and come to think of it, last time we did a Dr. Dre video, I got a feeling he's probably watched it, which is super, super surreal. And now, like, you know, he's recovering. He might have some downtime, he might watch this. If you did Dre, leave us a comment down below. All right, I'll see you guys in another video. Boom! Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Now, we drop a new video each and every day, so here's a recent drop that you might enjoy. We handpicked that one for you because if you like this video, you'll probably like that. We also got playlists like over here, so click on that if you want to see a whole list of a bunch of videos we've dropped in the past. And if you're new to the Fame Gang, be sure to subscribe and turn on them post notifications, and I'll see you guys in another video. Boom!